Brad. Hey everybody, Ron Spomer here with some bad bench shooting technique. Or at least that's what a lot of you have been telling me after watching our 308 Winchester week. A lot of folks wrote in with some pretty good criticism and they asked me if I knew what I was doing on the bench. Maybe not, guys. I've never promised or even pretended to be a bench rest shooter. But I want to answer some of the questions you guys have been asking and see if we can make some sense of this. Now, the group that I just shot was using the technique I generally use, which is to let the rifle free recoil. Sits up here in front. I don't want to disturb it. I have a very light grip on it. That's why it looks like my finger flies off of it sometimes and I'm just losing control. But I don't want to move the rifle when I pull the trigger. A lot of folks will say, hold the rifle tightly, hold the forend down, get a better technique. So we're going to look into that. Sean says, Ron, is there a reason you keep letting go of the rifle mid-shot? Well, I just explained that. I'm not really holding the rifle. It's gravity. John says, Ron, why do you always have an uneven bench rest? Well, the ground here is uneven. We're in hilly country. And really the bench not being level doesn't make a heck of a lot of difference because we level things up here with our tripod up front and our rabbit ear bag in the back. You might notice that I hold my hand back here and I squeeze the two right together. And that gives me my subtle little adjustment for my final shot. And yeah, it would be nice if someday I might pour concrete and really mount this bench right. But right now we're just sitting on some loose gravel. Caleb, Ron, I know what you're saying about good enough to hunt, but I think we owe it to the animals we're hunting to not call a 1 1/4 inch group good enough hunting group. Especially consider if the best rifle can do is 1 1/4, and then you add in the shooter and what happens when he screws the shot up a little bit, you could wound a lot of animals. Yeah, I might be a snob. I guess I can take it if people call me that. But spending a little more time to find a load that works best in a rifle, get the best sub-MOA accuracy you can, sounds like a good ethical hunter. I agree, Caleb, but you know, a lot of folks don't have the time or the money or the rifle to get that kind of accuracy. And I would hate to say, if your rifle doesn't shoot any better than 1 1/4 inches, you shouldn't be hunting. Yeah, that's just not going to fly. And the other thing is, it was about 20, 25 years ago, maybe a little more than that, but I can remember when Weatherby came out with the first accuracy guarantee. They said our rifles will shoot 3 shots into 1.5 inches at 100 yards. And all the writers at the meeting went, are you sure you want to do that? That's pretty risky, because just that recently, rifles didn't shoot all that well, and yet we were going around the world taking all kinds of game. Jack O'Connor didn't do too badly back in the mid-20th century, neither did Elmer Keith or Hemingway or Rourke or you name it. So I do think that 1 1/4 inches is good enough for a 300-yard, even a 400-yard shot. But I agree with you, if you have the time and the money and the ammo supply to work up a perfect load, go for it. But I'm surely not going to tell folks that they cannot hunt at reasonable ranges. As long as you can keep your shots in the vital zone, it really doesn't matter how precise your rifle is off the bench. When you're out hunting in field positions, that's when you need to test your hunting accuracy. So shoot your targets from your typical field positions at 200, 300, 400 yards. When you can no longer hold that 8-inch pie plate, that's when you know you've reached your limit, regardless what your rifle's doing on the bench. Good one, though. I appreciate that. What else do we have here? Quincy is talking about the needing to hold the front end down on that rifle. Keeps jumping around on every shot, he says. So those lightweight rifles could use a hand on the front end for more stability. We're going to test that, Quincy. It may be true, but I think the group that I just shot, we're using my free technique here. Looks like it's all in a line, just perfect. I mean, they're right on the line, above the bullseye. Maybe 3/4 to 1 inch group. That looks pretty nice to me, but we'll try it. James says I jerked the trigger with one of the shots that he saw me take. I would argue that I've never felt in any of those 308 Winchester videos that are recorded that I ever jerked the trigger. So it's probably that it looks like it because of the way the rifle leaps away from me on that light touch. But I appreciate you looking out for me, James. Norcall says roughly the same thing. He says, watching these rifles literally jump out of my hand, makes me wonder if there isn't a bit of shooter error here. And again, there could be, but that group I just shot now, and several of the ones that we did in those 308 Winchester shows were 3/4 inch groups. So to me, that sounds pretty good. What does Keith have to say here? Oh, fouling shots. Keith says, you know, when you change ammo, especially with different powders, that first shot is essentially a fouling shot that will definitely open up the group. I don't know, Keith, I have never heard that before, but I do know that if you switch from, let's say, your typical cup core bullet like these Core-Loks from Remington, and then you shoot some Barnes or Hammer or Cutting Edge or an all copper bullet of some kind, you generally get poor accuracy. Those copper bullets like to start with a fresh, clean barrel and then copper on top of copper. Don't want to mix the gilding metal jackets with the coppers. That one is pretty well accepted, but I've never heard that changing powders is going to make a difference, and I haven't noticed it in my hand loads. So something you might want to look into, but I kind of doubt it. Z98, Ron, I think you should retest those rifles with the same ammo, but only use threaded models with a suppressor. Watching you shoot, I think you're pulling some shots. The amount your body moves, your hands coming off the rifle entirely, tame that recoil down by 40%. I'll bet those groups will tighten right up. For 90% of hunters, if the recoil is such that you can't spot your shot as it goes down range, it's too much recoil. Ooh, spotting your shot as it goes down range, I can do that with an arrow, but I've never done it with a high-powered rifle. But I think I know what you mean. You should see your hits, right? You should see the hole appear in the paper. That's hard to do with a hard recoiling rifle. I've done it with some 22s, but worth trying. And one thing that helps is something a lot of folks have said is that I need to square up rather than have this angle. I grew up learning to shoot with that 45-degree-ish angle, 30-degree angle, something like that. So what I'm doing with my bench is I'm getting both edges against my chest here. It gives me good even pressure, and that's holding me back. Someone else had written in a comment and it said that it looked like I had the butt on my bicep and it was torquing me back when I shot. No, I don't put it on my bicep. That hurts. I've got it tucked into the shoulder here, but I'm not exactly a beefy lineman, so it doesn't take much to rock old grandpa back a bit. But I'm not feeling bad recoil from these 308s that I've been shooting, and I'm not flinching, but I appreciate you guys looking for that because that's a smart thing to watch for. When you're doing your own shooting and your friends, if you can, run your camera and film them. Use your phone and just film them, and then you can see some of the mistakes they might be making, especially if you sneak them a rifle that's closed and they think it's loaded. You're going to see if they flinch, if they jerk, if they pull the trigger, if they close their eyes. Film them doing it, and they're going to go, oops, I guess I was. All right, what else here? Yeah, here's another one about not holding the rifle tight enough. We'll test against that one. Oh, but this guy, his name is Response, and he says Ron is basically free recoiling them. That is how a lot of people shoot for maximum accuracy. It gives you the least force imparted to the gun. As long as you're consistent, you'll be accurate. That's what I'm saying, and that's my technique. But it still might be wrong. It's just that I'm pretty proud of that group I just shot. So what else do we have here? And now Andy says, I'll just go ahead and say it. As much as I love watching Ron's videos, Ron is doing a terrible job at recoil management. His shooting hand comes flying off the rifle, the butt pad dips down underneath his shoulder pocket. I seriously doubt he's able to see the reticle while he's breaking the shot. The front rest is too high. Ron is heavily bladed away from the rifle. That's that angle I was talking about. With only his right bicep. Oh yeah, this is the bicep one I read. With only his right bicep available to absorb recoil. He would greatly benefit by squaring up behind the rifle with a consistent firm hold, drive that rifle straight back to the rear. To be honest, I'm kind of surprised to see this bad of shooting from a prolific gun tuber. It would do Ron some good to reach out to Phil Vallejo, don't know that gentleman, Kalen Wojcik at Modern Day Sniper and take a class on natural point of aim, second sight picture, and recoil management. Well, good advice, Andy. And in fact, embarrassed to say, I have taken some long-range classes from some superior instructors who had me squaring up to the rifle. But I've got a good 50 years of this bad bladed position shooting here. It's hard to break the habit. I do try when I'm out prone shooting on a mat to get squared up, but I am never comfortable doing that. And as long as I'm getting these sub-MOA groups for my technique here, I'm probably going to stick with it. And the same thing works in the field for me. I've done really well taking game using my techniques, but this show is not about my techniques. This is about yours. I want you all to try these things and figure out what works the best for your style of shooting. You might want to change it up. You might improve following some of these techniques. So now what I want to do is try what some of these folks are suggesting. We'll do that square up thing. I'll hold the rifle tighter. I'll hold the front end. We'll see if we can get much better groups with those techniques. Looking at that one though, I don't have a lot of hope we're going to get improvements. All right, let's see what we can do. Now guys, this is a Blaser R8 rifle from Germany, and it's a modular system. It's really pretty neat. You can change out the barrels and the fore end and even the butt stock. You can drop out the entire trigger group magazine thing comes out. It's really a cool system. This rifle is, well, it's a loaner from the Blaser folks, but I'm using it because it is an accurate rifle. The barrel was actually on my wife's R8 and I swapped it out and put it on mine. And it's still shooting, I think, like a house of fire here. Now, I did my bladed technique. I'm gonna stick with my bit of an angle here. I've got this in my shoulder. I'm never putting it on my bicep. I mean, that just hurts. I've accidentally shot that way a few times, especially with birds flushing fast. So I have got to change my aiming point now. So I am going to swing to the left of where I just shot at the same vertical position. So go to the bullseye and swing out to the left until you hit that heavy black bar. That will be my aiming point, and I'm going to hold the rifle firmly back into my shoulder, but let that fore end jump. All right, bullets high 1 inch and left 1 inch. See if I can pile them in there, but I've already changed my windage, pulling that shot 1 inch to the left. Is that because I'm squeezing and torquing when I pull the trigger? Didn't feel like it, but it sure could have been. It's about 3/4 of an inch away, maybe 1 inch, still a pretty nice group. No huge improvement in group size, but it did change where it's landing. Yeah, that's opened the group up just a little bit. Not enough that I would say, wow, that's a bad technique. But I do notice that hand pressure makes for a little bit of torquing, and that could be pulling those shots a little more than that first group. Boy, I hope that first group that I shot is in a vertical line as close as I think it is, because it might be there's a hole in the red bullseye that I'm not seeing clearly. We'll find out when we get down there or look at the other camera. All right, now while this barrel cools a little bit, I look like I'm out of ammo here, so I'll go to a fresh box. Same stuff, 180 grain Core-Lokt tipped bullets from Remington. This is that new stuff that Remington's putting out. You know, about what, in the last year or so, Federal bought the Remington name and the Remington ammunition, not the rifles, after they had their bankruptcy and they kind of split things up. So it's still Remington ammunition made at their plant, but it's under the auspices of Federal, as I understand it. So I assume each of those brands is making their own ammunition, their own bullets and everything else. But see how that barrel's coming. It's warm, but not hot. All right, now I think we're going to go to holding the fore end down on this one. I'm not going to grip it real tight, but I am going to get more of a hunter's grip on the trigger hand here. I am shooting at 14x with this Leupold scope, so I've got a real good picture of my target, and I can see the bit of wiggle from my body, my heartbeat especially. Now I'm lining things up naturally. Somebody pointed out a natural line on the rifle. You don't want to be pushing the rifle to get it over to the target. So I'm moving this bag and squeezing the ears back here to get it in position. But now I won't be able to do that when I go up here to get my hand underneath. That's why I generally don't like to put my hand underneath. Then I lose rear control. Now this time I'm going to go over to the right at that line. Heavy line. Felt good. Yeah, lost the target completely. It's right there though. That would have fit right into the previous group. almost the same hole. It might be something to this one. Oh, I'm having trouble keeping that rear end up though. Best group so far. I don't know. I would have said that wouldn't have been, because I was wiggling a little bit back here. But by golly, they're just all touching. There's just one ragged hole, guys. Might be onto something. Might be onto something. But see, even when I'm hunting, I don't hold the front end down that much. I'm usually on my shooting sticks, and I'm holding those sticks, and I don't have a lot of control over the front. But boy, there might be something to that, guys. Let's let this cool a little bit. Now I'll think of the next technique. Okay, now for the next technique, I've got to do that square up stuff. And I don't know, this one's going to take a little adjustment on my part because it's kind of foreign to me. So I'm now going to have under my pocket here against the bench and my chest against the other notch right here, I think. Yeah, that'll square me up. Oh, it's not too bad. Oh yeah, not a bad idea, guys. I think that could work. Now, should I combine that with what? I think I'm going to go back to my light freehand technique and see how close that all comes. Because I fear with these 3-shot groups, you know, we just might have a little fluke. How easily could a guy shoot his best group with one of these techniques? Unless we start getting a 2-inch group or maybe a 1.5-inch group or something, I don't think we can really say that one technique is vastly superior to the other. But it gives you an idea of what you can play around with for yourself. Okay, let's try this then. Right there. Gosh, that should work. Okay. I hope you guys are really feeling sorry for me shooting up all this expensive ammunition for your benefit. Because, you know, I hate to come out here and shoot. There's just no fun involved in that at all. You know how that is. Do I have to go out to the range and shoot? What I should be doing is shooting field positions to get better. Because the only person I know who shoots deer off of a bench like this is my wife. Buck was on the hillside one year, right over there. So he just came out here, put down the bench and the bags, and heart shot her deer. Pretty sweet system. All right. I don't feel comfortable with this, but I'll make it work. Wish me luck. Light touch. Boy, that felt solid. It jumped right at an inch to the left, like one of those others. They're just kind of all hanging in there, but I think I'm seeing a little consistency in what happens with it moving left and right. Yeah, they're all pretty consistently that way, except for that first group that was perfectly straight up and down. Yeah, same size group. Got one more in there. Yeah, it looks like it's in, like the first hole got hit again or something. Is that about another inch group? We're shooting pretty well MOA or just under with all of these. So it says the rifle is good and the rifle likes his ammo and the whole system seems to be working out pretty nicely, but I don't know that we're making a big difference in our techniques to decide which one's the better. I can tell you this though, guys. Given how this is all grouping, I don't think I'm going to change my system. I might go to holding that forend down. Let's do one more in which I do the squared up thing, because I'm not staying on target. I'm not going bang and seeing the bullet hole hit. I can do that with a 22, but 308, I don't know. That one gentleman said we ought to be able to see that. I don't know. Maybe with a heavier rifle, but definitely have to get the recoil down on any of that stuff. But it is nice to do, especially when you're out hunting. You want to see what happens when you shot at that deer. If you can see him get hit or missed, you're way ahead. So I think we can go to one of those upper dots. Oh, that lower left red dot. That's got a good opening right there. I can put them in there. All right. This barrel is It's quite a lot warmer now than it was earlier. But I think in the interest of time, we're going to go for it. You folks might want to take it a little more cautiously with your guns, especially if you're concerned about burning the throat out of your rifle. 308s are not famous for burning out barrels, so we're not freaking out about that. But all right, so what's the combination going to be? Hold the forend to control it, because I got a good group that way. Keep the hat brim from contacting its getting knocked off. Boy, I don't know, boys. I see more movement this way than anything else. That definitely allowed me to stay on target. I didn't see the bullet hole appear, but by golly, I didn't lose the target. The combination of holding it down. Yeah, holding it down and squared up. That seems to be the best for seeing the hits. I can certainly appreciate that. Group size is just right in there. About a ½ inch now. Bingo, another nice group. That's pretty encouraging, guys. I think there's something to be said for that. That combination, holding the forend down onto the bigger kicking rifles. With a heavy rifle, a little less recoil, you probably don't need to do it. But boy, that's working right now. So my two best groups were when I held that forend down. So I think you guys are onto something there. But again, not holding it down is not all that bad of an option either, because I've gotten some good groups all the way around. Definitely can say that this is one heck of an accurate rifle. So, hey, thanks for watching, guys. Pick out your favorite. We're going to go down to the targets now and show you a little close-up on it. We got them all right here, though, so I think we'll be fine, but maybe we'll talk about it down there. See you in a bit. Oh, hey, I was right about that one. I did put one right in the bullseye. So my first 3 shots using my light finger technique it was really nice for controlling the windage because I wasn't torquing. But I think the rifle jumping up off the rest might be contributing to an increase this way. That was my worst group. This is when I was very firmly holding the rifle, but I still was bladed to the target. But that's my best group. Gosh, that's about ½ inch. And then this group, can't remember what technique I used. I think I was pulling it tightly back into my shoulder. Another great group right here. And I think this was my last one. So this was the combination of squaring off and holding it firmly at the front, the forend. I think to hold the forend and square off, those two. This is 2 bullet holes right here and 1 there. So as you can see, nobody's going to complain about any of those for hunting. This is an old target that's underneath this one. So, gosh, that's pretty encouraging stuff, guys. Hey, I want to thank everybody for sending in your suggestions and ideas on this. I think it probably behooves all of us to just examine our old shooting techniques, and you're never too old of a dog to learn a new trick. This is Ron Spomer. Thanks for watching. Hunt honest and shoot straight from the right positions.